country where the rivers run wide, folks started asking what they're trying to hide. And behind closed doors and whispered halls, see a few big players thought they'd fool us all. But somebody lit a light in the dark, started connecting every missing mark. And the truth came knocking loud and hard. See, it shook the foundation of that house of cards. It's Beaufort County's house of cards. Pull one thread and it all falls apart. And we're raising the bar, shining a light wherever the secrets are. No more smoke screens, no more facades. The people are watching from near and far, and truth and transparency are our guard. We're tearing down that house of cards. And Facebook Live on a Thursday night, see, bringing the facts and shining the light. No matter who's winning, no matter who's scared, the truth's got a way of hitting hard. And the people deserve to know what's true, what they're spending and who's pulling through. From Bluffton streets to Beaufort yards, the truth keeps shaking that house of cards. It's Beaufort County's house of cards, where the truth cuts through like a shooting star. And Facebook, YouTube, and Big Patriot Radio, taking the story where the people go. Truth and transparency are our regard. No one's too big, no matter who you are. And freedom survives when citizens guard against every house of cards. So tune in every Thursday night, we'll keep shining the light, and truth keeps standing tall as every house of cards can fall.
You're listening to the House of Cards on Facebook, YouTube, and BigPatriotRadio.com. All licenses for music and content have been purchased by and are for the express use of the Big Patriot Radio Network. All information, opinions, and topics are for entertainment purposes and do not expressly represent the opinions of the show's hosts and or producers. Sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Let's go!
The station that keeps it rocking 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
BigPatriotRadio.com.
And good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome in here. It is July the 16th. I'm Mike Covert coming to you live from the Big Patriot Studios right here in the great state of South Carolina. Welcome to everyone watching on YouTube, Facebook, and to those around the world. Got 3 people right now in Germany, of all places, checking the show out on BigPatriotRadio.com. Want to switch things up right now, and tonight we're going to begin our show as we remember the life of our senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham, Senator Graham, passed away on the 11th of July, 2026. He was 71 years old.
let's go!
The station that keeps it rocking 24/7.
Ladies and gentlemen,
BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right, once again, thank you so much for everybody tuning in. Again, wherever you're watching and listening from, so glad to have you here. We appreciate having you on. As always, if you want to, go ahead and click on that QR code right there beside my head. That'll take you to buy me a coffee. We really appreciate all the support we get week in and week out from the folks that watch and listen to the show. So you can click that during the show anytime. Want to just remind you that your support is greatly appreciated. We thank you so much. And as always, we want to thank folks like PB of Bluffton, Yahoozy 12, Felice, thank you for your support. Any Mouse Star, in Pardo 523, BG, thank you for all your support. Thank you to Gemini 8224, Folly Jen, Fontaine Lynn, and to Bob and Chuck 180 as well. Also, thank you to Cad M17, Peter Cottontail 26, Baggett's Bots, and Cliff W53. Thank you, Jeff and Lisa 624. All of you are greatly appreciated, and we thank you.
You have an incoming transmission.
Drop the tailgate, y'all.
Your attention, please.
You're listening worldwide to DJ Magic Mike
We're gonna have a good time
on BigPatriotRadio.com.
We've got a great show coming up for you tonight. We've got 2 guests coming on. Kind of the one of them's already back there in the green room, wetting his whistle. And we'll get to him here in just a few minutes. We're running just a few minutes behind, but we're going to speed things up. Great show. And, you know, the topic of tonight's show is kind of like, are we, as a society, are we going, and maybe that means Beaufort County. Maybe that means your little, silo of Beaufort County. Maybe that means the Southeast. Maybe that means the U.S. I don't know. Everybody's going to be different. But is your society, is our society moving towards a 2-tier system, or are we already there? Now, you decide what 2-tier system you feel. We're going to talk about a couple of them tonight. And I want to talk about something right quick that should concern every single person in the community, not Republicans or only Democrats or only conservatives or only liberals, not rich neighborhoods, not or working class, every one of us. Every fat, skinny, black, white, short, tall, if you are alive, this should concern you. And it is the growing danger of becoming a 2-tier society. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, a 2-tier community or society is one where the rules begin to change depending upon who you are, where some people seem to have more influence than others, where some voices are heard while others are ignored, where one part of the community receives the attention, the investment, and the protection, while another is expected to simply accept whatever is left over. That's a dangerous path, Because once a community starts dividing itself into a us and them mentality, everybody is going to lose. It may not happen overnight. In fact, it rarely does. I can't think of a stance or a situation that it would happen overnight. So I think that's true, that it rarely does. It starts with these little decisions, one after the other, and a neighborhood gets prioritized while another neighborhood, and again, this can mean different things. This can mean your plantation, your subdivision, your whatever, or it could be a much broader. One group receives immediate attention and another group waits. One person's concerns are taken seriously while another's are dismissed. Individually, these or those moments may seem insignificant, but collectively, they do become a pattern. And people, whether you're a novice or what, an old timer, in people that look at government, look at daily life, look at political systems, at things of this nature, people do notice. People notice those patterns. When citizens begin to believe that fairness depends on, where they live, who they know, how much influence they have, the trust starts disappearing. Trust is the glue that holds a community together. Without trust, every decision becomes suspect. Every public meeting becomes contentious. Every election becomes more divisive. Every government action is viewed through a lens of complete skepticism, and rebuilding that trust is harder than preserving it in the first place. Here's the reality. Today's favored group may become tomorrow's forgotten group. Think about that for a second. History has shown us those power shifts. Leadership changes, priorities evolve. If we create a system that treats people differently, depending upon who's in favor today, eventually everyone will experience being on the outside of that circle. That's why equal treatment matters, not because it's politically convenient for anyone, because it's morally right. They're built by making sure every resident believes that they matter. Strong communities aren't built by picking winners and losers. Say that again. Think about what it takes to make a community, a society, an area desirable. It's not just pretty parks and attractive homes, all of that stuff. Sure, that helps. That's a facade. It's confidence. Confidence that local government will listen. Confidence that public safety serves everyone equally. Confidence that children have opportunities regardless of their zip code. Confidence that tax dollars are spent fairly. Confidence that if you speak at a public meeting, your voice carries the same weight as someone with political connections. That's what creates stability. When that confidence disappears, something else takes its place. Want to guess? That would be cynicism. People stop volunteering. They stop attending meetings. They stop believing they can make a difference. They stop voting. They stop investing. And I don't just mean financially, but emotionally. They check out in the future of their own community. That's when communities start to decline. Look at any community, any society that has declined over time, and you'll find any of those things we just mentioned. And here's something worth remembering. A divided community is easier to manage than a united one. Say that again. A divided community is easier to manage than a united one. When neighbors are fighting neighbors, they're not working together to solve problems. When people see each other as competitors instead of partners, everyone becomes weaker. The strongest communities don't agree on everything. They don't have to. Same thing applies in politics. I've never found anybody that agrees with me 100% on politics. And that's a good thing. If it were true, that would be kind of weird. And that applies to you as well. If somebody agrees with you 100% every single item, that's strange. We need to be our own people. Anyway, they simply agree that everyone deserves fairness, respect, and an equal opportunity to be heard. That's the strongest communities. That's the foundation also of good government. That's the foundation of good schools. That's the foundation of public trust. A community should never be measured by how well it treats its most powerful citizens. It should be measured by whether every citizen believes they have a fair chance. Because fairness, it's not a gift from the government. It's an expectation. It's the social contract that binds communities together, whether you've lived here for 50 years or 5 months, whether your home overlooks the water or sits miles inland, whether your home is or whether your income is high income or it's modest income, whether your last name is well known or completely unfamiliar, John Doe. You deserve to know that the same rules apply to everyone. Because once we accept that two standards for one community, we stop being one community. We become something like a competing communities sharing the same map. That's not good. That's not cool. And that's not a future that any of us should want. If we truly care about the place we call home, again, your street, your subdivision, your county, your region, your state, your nation, then fairness can't belong to one neighborhood, one family, one political party, or one special interest. It has to belong to all of us. Because when every resident succeeds, the community succeeds. When every voice matters, democracy becomes stronger. And at the bottom line of it all, when every voice matters, democracy becomes stronger. And when fairness is applied equally, then everyone wins.
You have an incoming transmission.
Drop the tailgate, y'all.
Your attention, please.
You're listening worldwide to DJ Magic Mike
We're gonna have a good time.
on BigPatriotRadio.com.
All right, it is 20 minutes past the top of the hour. I just trimmed 3 minutes. Man, that was awesome. Hey, don't forget, we want to hear from you. We're going to bring on our first guest here in just a second. We want to hear from you during the show. Please get in your chat room of whatever you're watching us on and type away if you have a question for me or for our guests or a comment. Feel free. Some I read, some I don't. If some I don't see, then I usually don't read them. But if I see them, I read them. Anyway, I want to bring on our first guest tonight. Dave, I had to, this guy's got such a pedigree. I had to trim it down. I had to trim it down a little bit. Just a little bit, Dave. I had to trim it down some. Dave, you're going to be joining us. He's a business executive, a leadership consultant. Wish I knew him when I had the company. He's an author, longtime Hilton Head Island resident with more than 40 years of leadership experience from military service, corporate leadership, business ownership, and community service. Dave has served his community as of recent time, as he is a current member of the Hilton Head Island Accommodation Tax Advisory Committee, also known as ATAX. Interestingly, and I thought this was cool, he has a personal mission statement, and his mission has remained the same, he says, over the years, and that is to, quote, to develop leaders, strengthen organizations, and leave every community better than he found it, end quote. Please, you can't ask for more than that. Please join me in welcoming Dave Ferguson to the show. Dave, how are you?
I'm great, Mike. Thanks for having me, man. What a man! Your lead-in conversation was awesome. I mean,
well, thank you. I appreciate it. Coming from a coach. I mean, coming from you. That I appreciate that.
That could be a national speech. So send me a copy of that.
Maybe that's really maybe that's why I wrote it. I don't know.
And,
how in the world are you, my friend?
I'm doing wonderful, man. Thanks for honoring Lindsey Graham. Whether you agree with him or not, what a patriot, and a man served his country his whole life.
Absolutely.
So you always have to love that. And
absolutely. And that was I had just heard from our friend Tom Reitz. He was also making the same statement. And I think it's appropriate. And you're right. Whether you agree with Lindsey or not, and I mean that's neither here nor there. And we didn't agree on much. Something. He was a fierce fighter for what he believed in.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Somebody that his story is awesome. Basically raising his sister and then adopting her so she could receive the benefits of the military and et cetera from him. I mean, that's just I don't care, right? That doesn't matter, or his philosophy doesn't matter. He was that means a lot to me.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you for honoring him, because it's important that we honor those people that serve.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Dave, I appreciate you coming on, and I want to be cognizant of your time and space that we have here tonight. And I wanted to talk to you about some things very relevant, not only to Hilton Head. And as I said, the theme of the show is, do we have a two-tier society, or do we already have that? Where are we? And I wanted to ask you some things from the Hilton Head Island goggles or lenses. Later on in the show, after you tonight, we're going to bring on somebody from St Helena. Right. Completely different dichotomy. I mean, everything is a different world, a mere hour away. Mm-hmm. I'd like to ask you, first of all, the state of affairs on Hilton Head Island when it comes to the much publicized town council consideration, I guess that's a good way to put it, of the curfew. What is your interpretation of that and your feelings about that?
Well, and I've spoken in town hall about it twice now in the last 2 weeks, but I think, it's been a wake-up call for the town. Okay. I hope it's been. For most of the people, it's been a wake-up call. My personal opinion is, we kind of took our eye off of public safety altogether. Not just crime and shootings, a lot of things that revolve around public safety. I'm an avid biker. I ride 15 to 20 miles a day. People know me and wave to me because I'm on my bike all the time. I go everywhere on my bike, anywhere I possibly can. So when you're on your bike, you see everything, and you just see so much. And we've just let our guard down public safety wise. Our folk, that should be the town leadership's number one responsibility. Is public safety first. You got to keep people safe first, right? Before everything else. And it's lost its priority, and it's really slipped down. And I think hopefully this is going to bring it back up. Although I was at a town council meeting yesterday, and I really didn't feel that. Oh no, Tuesday, and I really didn't feel that based on what I heard. So here we are. We've had a big, this is a big one. It's national now. It's been on national news. Yeah. It can affect tourism. It can affect property values. It can affect morale. I mean, it can really affect a lot of things. So we've got to make some good leadership decisions around it. My thoughts on a curfew initially, and I put them out there everywhere, was, I didn't think a knee-jerk reaction. There was a big knee-jerk reaction that maybe we should have an 8 o'clock curfew for 17 and under. Mm-hmm. I thought that would be a mistake.
And why do you think that?
Because we don't have enough people to enforce speeding here, no less a curfew. Okay.
Excellent point.
I live on the south end of the island. Okay. It's busy. That's where most of the tourists come and stay. And I love that. Sure. That's why I live on it. I like that excitement. I like to interact with the tourists and all of that. I can deal with it. I'm not one of those people that complains about tourism.
Right.
But it can affect all those things. So we've got to get it right. But kicking it down the road, and as you know, you follow me, I use that term a lot with this town council, is not maybe the best solution. So, I just think we should have done. I think we need more presence. Look, we spend the new budget they just put out for 2027 is $234 million. Now, your listeners should go out there and Google how many cities have a budget that side.
Right.
By the way, Hilton Head is a town. Okay, we have a huge budget. It's increased $80 million from 2026.
It's only slightly less than the entire county.
Right.
At 320 million or whatever.
I looked at that. And so then we have a great fire and rescue. We have everybody's world class, and it's world class. Chris does a great job. The leadership there does a good job. We've got great people in that. But we spend $25 million a year on that in Hilton Head. We paid Beaufort County sheriffs last year $7 million. Okay. Mm-hmm. So to say public safety is a priority, I think is wrong. Because yes, fire and rescue is a priority, but we can't get enough, enforcement and literally deputies here for $7 million. So in this huge budget, I mean, there's plenty of room for it. I've been through the new budget line by line. Believe me, I found another $7 million pretty easy.
I'm sure.
We could easily double it. And we're not going to get into that because a list of stuff here. We could do another show about the Hilton Head budget.
Absolutely.
But
let me ask you something, and you're kind of leading into where I was going to go next. What is your opinion? And this has been talked about a lot, and it's highly emotional for some people. What is your opinion? And you may have seen on the logo all over Facebook and whatever for tonight's show, right beside you was the Hilton Head Island Police.
Yes.
What is your opinion about the town having their own police department?
Yeah, so I've been very public about this. It's been posted. I spoke in town hall about it. I've been very public. I do not believe, based on what I know now, okay, and I'm open to all kinds of input and to learn more. I do not believe that we need a standalone police department, a full-blown standalone police department. I think, first of all, we need a better relationship with Beaufort County Sheriff's Office. We need a better relationship. It's been so, they've been battling this lawsuit for so long. The relationships are not good. As a leader, you've got to lead across to the sheriff, okay? And obviously it's PJ now, but it's going to be somebody different in January, right?
Mm-hmm, right.
There's got to be more leading across. This bickering and arguing over money and coverage, it's not smart. We need a good MOU that really gives us the public service level we need, because we don't have it. We have 38,000 full-time residents, but we get 2 million, 3 million visitors a year. Yeah. We need, during peak seasons, we need increased, and we have to pay for that. And the residents of Hilton Head are willing to do it. Mm-hmm. They are. I'm talking to them all the time. And in the last week, I mean, my phone and my text, it's been blowing up.
Yeah, I bet.
Because people know that I'm involved, and they also know I'm thinking about maybe doing something here soon.
Yeah.
But we need more enforcement. Bottom line, we need a better relationship with the sheriff's office. I mean, if you watch the emergency town council meeting last week, whether you like PJ Tanner or not,
right?
He did what I have done in front of the town council, and I never go up there trying to embarrass him. I just go up there with facts and questions, and he did the same thing. He embarrassed them because they were not prepared.
He did.
They were not prepared to even have the conversation with him. And so it made it very obvious to anybody that was open-minded that our leadership is not aware enough to handle this. Okay.
Let me ask you something. Now, are you all paying residents of Hilton Head? Are you paying the user fee?
Yes, we all pay it's like $167 a year, I think.
Okay. Right, so when I was on county council, this was a big deal. And there was a lot of fists coming out, in between the council that I was on and the town council. And I remember a conversation with Sheriff Tanner where he said, quite bluntly, and I mean, and I don't, it's nothing negative. It just is what it is. He said, look, I only have to do what the Constitution says I have to do. And and the conversation went further, and I interpreted that as like one deputy, two deputies. Yeah, right. So, I mean, I hear him, but if you have the user fee, what is it going to take, Dave, to, what is the number of deputies on normal? I don't mean in the middle of the summer, but normal. Is it 5? Is it 7? What is it that Hilton Head needs?
I think there's hot spots on the island, especially during tourist season, where we need to have these guys. But before we get into the numbers, first of all, we have to have an engaged mayor and town council with the sheriff, because they were so off with each other at that meeting. It was really frustrating, and you could see, a blind person could see it, right? And I think that we need to sit down, have those conversations. Look, the sheriff's department is the expert on policing, not the town council members. But to listen to some of them say, "How come you haven't called us and invited us to things and stuff like that?" Like, that's not his job. His job is to follow the MOU, the agreement. And to my knowledge, he has been. And the Supreme Court of South Carolina just said that he has been.
That's right. That's right.
And I know Hilton Head doesn't like to hear that, but the facts are the facts. Okay. And that's me. I'm all about the facts.
Right.
So we need to sit down with them. We need to figure this out. We need to change the priority level of everybody says, "Oh, yes, they're all this last 2 weeks saying, oh, public safety is a priority." Well, yeah, okay. For people that don't listen and don't go to town hall and don't follow things around here, they're probably going, "Oh, that sounds great. It is." I had people messaging me today saying, "You're wrong. Your public safety is a priority here." I'm like, okay, I can't argue with that.
Right.
But we need to sit down. I don't know the numbers. I'm not an expert on it, but I can tell you this: if I was in a leadership position in this town, I would do everything possible to have a great relationship with the organization that we're paying to help us with public safety.
Right.
And we haven't really had that. It's kind of been fake almost. It's always like it looks good in front of the cameras and stuff. But, I think we just need to have a really good working relationship with them.
And, I'm not an advocate of, just wildly spending money. But, if it came down to the fact that, if you want more deputies, it needs to, it's going to cost more. Is that something that the citizens of Hilton Head are like, no?
Nope.
Or is that absorbable? I
have not heard that from one person. And the other thing, too, is the type of presence we have. Everybody's like, well, let's cameras. Cameras are okay. The cameras only going to prevent a small percentage of the troublemakers from not doing what they were going to do. Remember, these guys that did all this, they were right in front of the cameras. The whole thing's on camera. Okay. And you couldn't help but see the cameras. I'm on the beach every day. They're right there. And so, it's just like I've traveled the world. Okay. We don't have cops on bicycles. Right. We don't have them on four-wheelers. Why would we not have four-wheelers on the beach?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Everywhere I go, there.
If we had our sea turtle volunteers, there's hundreds of them on the beach every single day. I see them all the time. They're present everywhere. I see them. I wave to them. I talk to them. I don't ever really see any kind of secure press. I see private, like Tiki Hut, they have private security. I go there once in a blue moon. I see private security at town hall all the time. Interesting story. So I went to that emergency meeting last Thursday, and I counted between sheriff deputies, and I'm not including PJ, between sheriff deputies and private security, I counted 8 in town hall. Okay. I don't think, I could be wrong. And if PJ, if you listen to this, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But I don't believe we ever have 8 police officers patrolling in the Coligny area.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So, it's something's got to change.
Yeah.
And it's going to take what I say. It's going to take leadership from both sides, sitting down and cutting all this crap that's in between them, and just sitting down as men and women and going, let's figure this out. Because you know what? This is important. It's not only just important for because you're Beaufort County audience. It's not just important for Hilton Head. Okay. Hilton Head contributes quite a bit to the county. Okay. Sure. So people in the county need to get involved in this conversation too. Okay. Yeah. Because it's important. If Hilton Head tourism and contributes quite a bit to the county coffers. And so it's really, really important that everybody gets involved in the conversation, then, which, is very tough in this town because generally leadership doesn't want to hear from you. I got gavelled down pretty bad last week. So not happy about that.
I would wear that as a badge of honor, to be honest with you.
Right.
Let me ask you this, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I tend to agree with all that. And in defense of law enforcement that night, July 4th, I think it was 17 seconds.
Amazing.
They were there.
Amazing.
So, I don't.
28 of them. 28 of them were there like that. Amazing.
Amazing. The main theme again for tonight, Dave, is society, our society, your society, everyone's different society. Are we entering a two-tier society, or are we've been in one? What is your opinion of that, of a two-tiered society? And that can mean, in case people are wondering, like, what the hell is he talking about? That could be education, that could be economics, that could be law enforcement, the judiciary, whatever is your thing, and I use that in air quotes. Are we, in or approaching a two-tier society?
Okay. So I look through everything through a leadership lens. Okay. Anybody asks me a question, I always put my leadership lens on. I would say, let's just speak nationally first. Nationally, our leadership has failed us for, let's say, the last 20 years. Okay. And I'm not going to pick on presidents, but it's pretty easy for people to figure out. There's been division created along the way. Okay. And that division has grown, but it's grown to small little towns. Like, I cannot believe the division in Hilton Head now. Like, it's grown because it's popular. Like you said earlier, I wrote it down. It's like, we can't, divided it. It's easier in a divided nation. It's even in a divided town. Well,
Right.
If you do what's easy, life gets hard. If you do what's hard, life gets easy. So we got to do the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And from a leadership perspective, I always say that let's do the hard stuff in your organization. Let's do the hard stuff as you as a leader that you got to grow, and your life's going to get easier. Your business is going to get better. The town's going to get better, and all that. But a lot of people are just not willing to go there. Two-tier, I don't know. I don't look at it that way.
Okay.
I look at we have some powerful people in positions. They get elected, in this case, to leadership positions. That does not make you a leader. Okay. What makes you a leader is when people actually give you the permission to follow them and to support them. Okay. It's a big difference between being in a position and actually being a leader. And I think, look, I've never been in politics before. Actually, I'm 1-0 in political elections. I won my high school class presidency.
There you go.
I beat 4 other people. So I'm 1-0 in political elections. So, but I just think the division's great. If you just go to our town hall, you can see it. There's very little respect for the public.
Let me ask you a couple other things, and as we're running short on time, and I appreciate that. One thing I remember, and you'll appreciate this as someone who looks through Lynn's labels of leadership. When I was going through some education at a Cambridge Institute for the National Association of Counties, I had someone. This guy was he was extremely he was well experienced. Let me put it that way. He asked everybody. He said he was a curmudgeon. What is leadership? What is leadership? And everybody gave their answer, and it was all wrong. According to him, it was all wrong. He said, "Look, you morons. Let me tell you something. It's simple. Leadership is this: getting good people to do good work into class."
Yeah, it's good.
Getting a group of people to do good work.
Yep.
And I can't get that out of my head. The guy was a real turd.
Simple and true.
It's simple and true. So
I just switch out the word. I put influence instead of get. So to influence people to do that great work.
Yeah.
So how do you influence them? You do it. You influence them by leading by example and doing the hard stuff yourself, doing the great work yourself, and people start to gravitate towards that.
So as someone in leadership that talks about this daily, leadership, and let's think of it as steering a boat. We need a captain at the helm of the boat. If town of Hilton Head is the boat, is it being steered in the right direction according to Dave Ferguson?
Wow, that's a great question, because I use that when we did not talk before this call.
No, we did not.
I use that analogy a lot because my mentor and great friend, John Maxwell, who's been my mentor and friend for years, I worked with John for many years.
Wow.
He says this, anyone can steer the anyone can steer the ship. It takes a leader to chart the course.
Wow.
Okay. And that's where we are in Hilton Head right now. Okay. That's where we are. We got off course on a lot of different things. And that's another show, right? We've gotten off course on a lot of things. Our priorities have gotten messed up. And it's frustrating a lot of people. It won't take a lot to get it back on course, but somebody's, like I said, anybody can steer the ship. It takes a leader to chart the course. And I think that's our biggest challenge right now coming into an election year. What's going to happen really? Because we need change. And we need different direction.
I want to ask you about that. One of our listeners, loyal listeners and viewers, I call her Carolyn Smith. I call her the mayor of Alljoy. She is in charge of Alljoy. Let me tell you, you don't know if you want to know anything that's going on. Miss Carolyn, I love you, and she knows what's happening. It's a very intelligent lady. A lot of smart things I've learned from her. Leadership, she says, is doing and listening. There you go.
It's really simple. She's right. It is. It's setting an example and listening to people, because you can't lead people if you're not listening to them.
That's right. That's right. I want to ask you, and I hope this is appropriate. I know in looking, we're on the same circle, so to speak, on Facebook, and I see, however all those algorithms work. I mean, I see some things that people have been saying. Do you see a political future for Dave Ferguson on Hilton Head Island?
Wow. I never see myself as political. Okay. I see myself as engaged, and I'm an engaged resident here. And for the last year and a half, I've been trying to get people more engaged. And along that path, people kept saying to me, well, why don't you run for mayor? Why don't you do something? You're trying to get people engaged. We'll help you. But I keep getting, they were like, why don't you do something? Why don't you show us the solutions? All that. So yeah, I'm not, if you follow me and you look at social media, I'm seriously, and I said this at the town hall meeting last week, that I am seriously considering running for mayor, and I'm going to make that decision in the next 2 weeks. I've had a ton of support. I have people messaging me that don't want to go public. I mean, it's off the charts right now. And I've never wanted to be mayor of Hilton Head. I've never wanted to hold political office. Look, I've been trying to retire. I've kind of retired twice, and I keep working. I love what I do. I love what I do. And
there's
so
nothing wrong with that, dude.
I'm a man of service. And so if I do this, the Holy Spirit has been speaking to me about this for about 2 years. Yeah. And at some point I actually tried to ignore it, and I couldn't.
Right.
And so it's becoming a calling. Yeah. And then everybody else is pulling me, and they're going, you need to do this. We need this. The current mayor is a nice guy, so he's not going to be my opponent. Let's put it that way. Okay. I'm just going to offer the town something different if I run, but I appreciate you asking me that. Stay tuned. Yeah. We just need somebody different to chart the course, in my opinion.
Well, if you decide to run, keep us in mind. I want to get you back on here, and we'll talk more about mayoral stuff. But Dave, you're a scholar and a gentleman. I want to thank you. I hate it. Our time has come to a close. I want to thank you also for your service to this nation.
Thank you.
You were in the Air Force, if I remember right.
Yep.
And we appreciate that. You're always welcome on this show. Anytime to talk about anything. Dave Ferguson, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. See you, buddy. Thank you.
Everything that rocks is right here. Right here.
Let's rock.
With Big Patriot Radio.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, it is, let's see, it is a quarter till the top of the hour. Really appreciate Dave being on here. He's a super nice guy. Haven't known him all that long, but I have been listening and reading things like that, and I know what he stands for, and really great to have him on. We're going to go ahead and bring on our second guest. He's been back there in the green room getting himself ready. He's been on the show before. He's no stranger to the House of Cards. We were going to welcome him back. This guy, great guy. He's a lawyer. He's a teacher. He's a mentor. Most of all, a father and a businessman. He was the proprietor of Willie's restaurant on St Helena Island for, I believe it was 3 years. And then they had a tragic mass shooting shortly before 1 o'clock in the morning on the 12th of October, 2025, widely publicized here as well. I want you to please join me in welcoming Mr. Wille Turrall to the show. Willie, how are you?
Man, I'm well. Thanks for having me.
It is, man, it's good to see you. How have you been?
Under the circumstances, I think as well as can be expected, in good health, obviously.
Yeah.
What the situation was, it is definitely not quite over for everybody, of course,
Yeah.
but under circumstances, doing good though.
Good, man. That's good. Family well?
Absolutely.
That's the main thing. That's the main
Yes.
thing. I know you've got what, 3 or 4 children?
Yep.
That's
a couple
awesome.
of them.
That's awesome, dude. For folks that don't know the entire story, and this is a Reader's Digest version, the sheriff of Beaufort County, and again, Willie, the theme of tonight is society, and that can mean different things to different people. Is our society, or your society, or ours, going to a 2-tier system, or are we already there? And that can mean different things. But anyway, the sheriff of Beaufort County took, in my opinion, unparalleled steps last year when he said publicly that he was going to see to it that Willie's Bar and Grill was going to be shut down. I don't know if that's the exact verbatim, but it's pretty close to it. A police, in my vision, a police Gestapo type statement. Now, let me add real quick. This channel took a lot of all the calls for service. We did FOIAs from the establishment from when you leased it, okay? And then from before you back a certain number of years, the calls for service were far outnumbered before you were there than when you were there. Mm-hmm. Just throw that out there. But the sheriff yet was hell-bent, in many's opinion, on shutting you down. So, Willie, I want to ask you a question, a very serious question. It's a simple question, and it will not be asked, I'm sure, by mainstream media because they don't have the balls to do it. It won't be asked by many podcasters that I call grifters because they don't have the balls to do it. The question is, Willie, are we entering or have we already been in a 2-tier society system in Beaufort County?
Mike, to answer that question as honestly and direct as I possibly can, I think we've always been in a 2-tier system from the beginning of mankind. And it's not a complicated one. It's those with power or favor and those without. That's been the system. It's nothing new. I think the question is, why does it continue to be so, thus far in society? It's 2026. Like, the bigger question is, some of these things are obvious. Mm-hmm. I think to not say it's a system, just go online and see the comments, see the division, right? Mm-hmm. You can see the opinions of one tier and opinions of the next. Has to be a 2-tier system. I think that's not the question. I think is why does it exist and why can't we acknowledge it? Why can't we talk about it? As you said, why can't we speak on this 2-tier system that we know exists?
That's right. And that's, I'm not tooting my horn, but I believe those things should be talked about because if we don't talk about them, we won't figure them out. And, I want to narrow it down a little bit. And I'm going to ask you about education in a second, because I think that is as important to every community. But I want to talk about law enforcement. Do we have, obviously this is an opinion. This isn't factual. It's subjective. Is our law enforcement in Beaufort County is there a 2-step or a 2-tier law enforcement mentality?
Mike, I think when we just look at the 2 situations that should be abreast of everybody's thoughts, right? Situation that happened on St. Helena, the situation that happened at Caligny. Mm-hmm. I think when we look at the very different responses, it raises legitimate questions about how the system is being administered, and is it being administered the same way equally, no matter who you are. I think that's a fair question, and I think
Sure it
people
is.
should be asking the question. I think, to make accusations, not rooted in facts, isn't a part of the solution. I
Right.
think, being hurt or upset that something's happened to you personally, and then using that to now talk subjectively about a situation that should be approached objectively, I think doesn't help. So, I can't answer to
Mhm.
say if there's a two-tier system, but I can say that there's legitimate questions that have been raised. And I think if you look at the evidence and you follow the facts,
Sure.
some serious questions come up. You mentioned the calls for service.
Mhm.
I have serious questions about how you can use a report where, factually speaking, only one call was for an intoxicated person, and that wasn't during my tenure.
Right.
The 70% of the calls were residential calls and calls in the area, not even actually attributed to the business itself, regardless
Right.
of who had it.
Right.
Don't look at, like you did the FOIA. How many calls are residential calls? You just automatically wipe those. How many are car crashes? You wipe them off the board, and you narrow that down. And it's like, how and why would a sheriff come out and say, approach this situation this way, very targeted, very sharp, very
Mhm.
accusatory, then takes legal action against a business by the sheriff himself,
Yeah.
says it publicly and does it.
Yeah.
And then to see other business owners similarly suited, like, no matter where you're at in history, whether you serve a minor alcohol to the point that he drives
Right.
a person to their death, and you
Right.
won't even make the paper,
Right.
you won't even know about it.
Right.
Why? So is there a two-tier system? I don't know. I think let's ask the questions, but I think if we follow the facts and everybody did their research, I think some people are going to have some conclusions that might suggest so.
Well, let's just look at this. I mean, and as I was telling Dave Ferguson, the last guest, I've told him that you were coming on next. Similar situation, completely two different dichotomies of land, of people, of residents, of visitors. I mean, it's complete. That's one of the great things about this county. And I mean, it's incredible that you can do this in the same county. Over here on Hilton Head, we have people, terrible situation. I don't know how many people got shot. I don't remember right now. 17 seconds was the response time for the sheriff's department. And there are a boatload of people saying we want our own police department. Now, hold that thought. Over here in St. Helena, you had, I believe it was 4 people killed. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot more injured too.
A lot more injured. The sheriff literally shut you down. He took the steps and got you shut down. I haven't heard anybody on St. Helena say we want more police or anything, but over here, they want their own police department, and they got there in 17 seconds. But they don't have any officers on there. But on St. Helena, how long did it take for the first officer to arrive? Do you remember?
It seemed like longer than 10 minutes.
But it was minutes. It wasn't 17 seconds.
It was longer than 10. I was, when the shots, when I heard the shots outside, I was inside. I took cover, and there was a moment of panic when people were flooding in.
Yeah.
That lasted minutes. People were scared.
Yeah.
We started exiting people out the back door, and still not a siren in sight. I saw people running by leaking blood, and not a people. Man, it's hard to talk about.
Yeah,
but,
no, I get it, man. It's okay.
Here's the thing. A business, you talk about sheriff's department, it's a business.
Mm-hmm.
Government's a business. You pay taxes out, you work your tail off, you pay taxes, man. You pay a lot of taxes out. Like, any business, any restaurant owner knows. It's hard to open a restaurant. Most of them fail, 90% within the first year. Those are facts. I carried my restaurant to year 3 through all kind of grit and determination.
Yep.
We did so many amazing things with these guys and different bands that'll never get talked about. But it was absolutely a tremendous effort to get us there. But at the end of the day, we were a business. We made money and we paid taxes.
Yep.
You hear Hilton Head respond in the way they respond because Hilton Head is contributes a lot to the income of Beaufort County. Thus, they have a voice. So if that's true, then you tell me who in Beaufort County is making money at 2 a.m. Most nights, it's just me. So where else should or would your officers be if we're gonna adhere to the same principles?
Right.
Of follow the money and protect businesses. That's what you want to do. You want to protect businesses. Where was our protection? It shouldn't have been a response time. You should have been there. You should have been on site. Where else is there a large gathering, as you described, at 2 a.m. in Beaufort County? Everybody this is a high retirement community. Most people are asleep. There's nowhere else for you to be but right there with us. You should have been with us. And somebody should have, people shouldn't have lost their lives. There should have been a deterrent. There should have been a presence. They want substations. They want safety. So does every business owner on St. Helena. So you got to make a decision. Either you penalize somebody because they called too much, or they didn't do their part in bringing safety. But it's got to be one or the next. What kills me the most is you use two completely different arguments. To villainize a business. One saying they asked for too much help. And the other saying that they didn't do enough. You gotta make a decision here. We never, we didn't have any incidents at that building. We had such a great relationship. I have so many text messages for the actual staff that worked there who thanked me all the time. Man, it was so they always came. They would come in and walk and say, "Willie, man, we just thank you, man. We don't have the problems that we love the way that you do business. We love the way that you communicate with us. Regardless of who's the leader, there's some outstanding deputies on the sheriff's department that they were so kind, man. They were always like helpful. Like I have nothing bad to say about any of the police officers that ever came to my establishment to help me out. The greatest people in the world. But what you saw in leadership was very different. And I said all that to say that I don't understand. They should have been there. I want protection as a business, just like anybody else. And to do business for 3 years by myself with no help from the county that sits there and put their hands out and takes my taxes, I think is disgusting. And I don't care what race, color, or area you come from. I'm just talking about pure economics and what we all should be afforded when we do the right thing.
Willie, I feel for you. I've never been in your shoes like that. But I know a lot of people, we're just at a loss of words, when it comes to that. One of our viewers, is just sent a message, and I think it's worthwhile reading. Janet, I hope everything is good with you. She says, I was shocked when I read that Tanner is holding another press conference tomorrow, Friday, regarding the shooting, at Caligny Beach. And this time Duffy Stone, who is the solicitor, will be joining him. What WTH? I'm sorry, not sorry, but Mr. Turrall and the way his situation was handled by Tanner is the first thing I thought of. This is your two-tiered system blatantly presented. Thank you, Janet, because that, I have to say, and I'd like to hear your opinion, I think she spelled it out exactly. I mean, the only press conference I ever saw that I could remember was that one where you were there and he said he's going to shut you down. That is an example to me of a two-tiered, at least in leadership, system. So I agree with you. I would like to, I want to step aside from law enforcement. You're a mentor to a lot of youth on St. Helena Island, and you have been for many years. We have talked about this on this show for, gosh, I don't even know how long. I have asked people on the school board. I haven't asked William Smith yet, but I'm getting ready to. I've asked chairwomen of the school board to come on, and here's my problem that I have, and that I'm very fearful of this. And I don't know if you know of this. You probably do. We were given records, some data from the South Carolina State Department of Education. And it was comparing Beaufort County students and it was 9 other counties that were comparable in, demographics, square, miles or whatever, racially, somewhat similar, all 9 of these. And what I found that just floored me was that the graduation rates, and I'm talking about black and brown children, okay? Graduation rates, scores of A's and B's, okay? And students ready for work at graduation, all in the what they call the black and brown demographic, were almost the worst in the state. I don't understand, Willie. Why is this happening in a county that is one of the most affluent, if not the, in the state? How do we have children that are graduating that have the least number of A's and B's than anybody else in the state that aren't qualified for a job more than anybody in the state and aren't ready for graduation more than anybody in the state? How is that happening? And why aren't people jumping out of their skin to raise the flag of what the hell's going on?
Mike, that's such a loaded question, but where do I begin? Firstly, we don't prioritize that as a community, so we're all accountable for that. In the classroom, the things I was able to do in the classroom, I often would later see somebody on like Ellen DeGeneres getting rewarded for, and nobody ever talked about it. But this mass shooting, we spread that like wildfire. So just first of all, as a community, we're not interested in education. We want to be entertained. That's the first thing. Like, we got to be honest. If we did prioritize education, then we would be out here looking for transformative leaders, people who become a bridge, because education is all about connection. Anybody who understands learning knows that learning happens in connections, never in vacuums. It's all about connecting one thought, one idea, one concept to the next. That's how we learn. The same has to happen with learners, right? It's going to be hard for a 70-year-old teacher, not to say impossible, but it's going to be more different for a 70-year-old teacher or a 70-year-old person to instantly connect with a 7-year-old.
Sure.
You grew up in World War I. You did this with back in my day. We don't do that. So they might not understand. Then you get somebody that every generation has its different characteristics and its different movements. You got to understand that the learners now are coming through a technology first generation. This is a generation that's never been a part of technology, yet you're still teaching and have the same head of the school board since pencil and paper. How are you going to be able to reach these kids? And no disrespect to anybody there, but when you have a superintendent that's been superintendent for 15 years, you're going to have a dying school system. Where's the where you definitely don't have an energetic Wille Turrall running the school system. It's not there. You're gonna. I know personally so many principals who are outside of this district who were as good or just as good or well trained, and because it's a skill set, it's a training. Like, there's people that have these skill sets, and they were never given opportunities here in Beaver County. They were consistently denied because they represented exactly what needs to happen to change, but that's not what they want. So it starts with leadership. If leadership somebody would have to get out of the seat and stop making a check that they've been making for 20 years in order for these kids to live. And we just don't have that altruistic of society where folks are able to move along. There's stagnation here in Beaver County. We had the same sheriff for how long? How long? That's stagnation. You're telling me you're not successful to me if in 30 years you can't replace yourself.
Yeah.
In 30 years, you can't find another sheriff to do they talked about leadership. I always define leadership as the ability to replicate yourself, the ability to give somebody your set of skills and say, that's leadership. Now I've created that, I can move on to the next assignment. 20 years as a sheriff, you're still a sheriff. That's stagnation. And when you have that, what is dying is everything below you. Every great opportunity for sheriff that we had, whether you agree with JoJo or not, this guy has never got an opportunity you don't know if JoJo could make things better. He never got an opportunity to do so.
Right.
He never got it. So if you don't give opportunities, you can't have changed, and that's the issue. But reaching these kids are simple. For one, I wrote a book. English is my second language. It's not being promoted, but that's a book that could change educate. Just simply read that book, and you'll understand why you have low scores in the Gullah community. It's like asking, hey, if you go to a French-speaking country and you're speaking Mandarin, then you say, why is the French kids not doing good? I don't know, maybe because you're speaking in Mandarin. So if you really respect people, then understand that these kids that are black and brown speak Gullah, or at least they speak African American English, which is not the same.
Right.
If you do a test, any educator knows that a kid from that looks like me is going to come to school with like 26 or 50 something fewer words. That's something you can search, right? That's data, but that's actually not accurate. It's just that the words he has don't count, right? The way I'm speaking is not correct English. I have mixed and taken apostrophes off. We use it marketing. I'm loving it. That's what you would call African American English. It's not standard grammatical English. And most kids who are black or who are brown, they don't speak standard English in the house. And so a lot of times, like, it's as simple as they don't understand you, just like you don't understand them. And eventually, after not understanding what's going on for 8 hours a day, you stop listening.
Yeah,
but these are things that have been written in books that I wrote. That I read these books 20 years ago. That research has been done by Kwanzaa Kanjab. Like this is stuff has been done, so you could read it, you could research it. Miseducation of the Negro, Carter G. Woodson. This stuff has been written and published years ago. It's not hard to teach these kids. They're very easy to teach. You just have to speak in their language and be relatable. But again, if you don't have anybody who's actually willing to do it, to make the change, you're always going to have frustration.
So, and call me naive, if you will, but so why aren't we, and maybe this is not even the right question, but why aren't we doing that then?
Well, sometimes, listen, this is my answer. People are going to hate this, but segregation was probably one of the worst things that happened to the Black community, and I stand on that. A lot of my politics come from theories, not people. So people misunderstand me because they say conservative. So instantly, like, oh, you like Trump? You're so, like, you don't understand. Trump's not a conservative. Trump is a president who's running on this platform. But when I'm talking about conservative, I'm talking about the principles or values of the conservative party. That's what I mean. And a lot of people resonate. We're talking about faith and family and free. We're talking about principles. We're talking about a limited government. Those are the things, fiscal like I run on those kind of values. I think people just get lost in the translation. But I say that to say that it's just an unfortunate take on what needs to happen, and these kids simply need somebody who understands, who can make that bridge, and it's not hard to do.
Let me ask you this, Willie, and I remember I'm quite a few years older than you. I grew up in pretty much Central Virginia, and when I was a kid, this would have been I was born in '67, so in the '70s. I remember '70s and '80s. I had plenty of African American friends. I also remember vividly being in some of their communities where, if someone, a buddy of mine, stepped out of line, it didn't matter if it was his mother or lady down the street, all in the same community, would tear his ass up, as they say. Is that our communities still being? I remember people of the church. If you had a kid, young man or young girl, young lady stepping out of line, the clergy in your community would. I mean, that was somebody you did not met, and if they came down on you, I mean, you were going to get it.
Well,
is
Mike,
that still going on, or is the community losing that?
So that goes to my point earlier. Let's just, historically speaking, after segregation, right? The concept meant well, but the execution was horrible.
Okay.
Right? Separate but equal would have surely been much better than the segregation delivered, because it wasn't the segregation promised. How segregation would typically happen, if you think, again, not a two-tiered system, would be, and you could look at this factually, this is researchable. You would close half of the white schools, I guess, on one side and half of the black schools on one side. You would then merge half of the black kids with the white kids and half of the white kids with the black kids, right? You then would have had the Ruby Bridges incident, but then you would have had the Mike Covert incident, right? The white kid that the National Guard had to come to make sure got into the black school. But that never happened because you closed all the black schools.
Mm-hmm.
So if you closed all the black schools and then took this community and put them in now an environment where nobody wants them, I'm kind of thinking, how did the adults think this thing was getting ready to go down? If the National Guard had to walk this girl into a classroom, what is she experiencing after they leave? We have a whole generation of trauma of folks that got forced relocated, right? Like the Trail of Tears, into environments that now change education for a black kid out of that trauma circle is not the same. And people say it didn't happen to you. It absolutely did, because these lessons, again, are connected, right? How did grandma explain school to Mike? It might have been, hey, Mike, go to school, do what you're supposed to do. Grandma might explain to Willie, hey, Willie, be quiet, don't say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different school that you're going to. You're going to classes where the teacher's walking out and doesn't want to teach you. Do you know what that does psychologically to a kid?
Mm.
Now, how does that kid become an adult, and how does that adult instruct his kid? You think he tells his kid the good stories about? This is the exact design of what the government wanted to happen. I'm really misunderstand why it's like the why. Why do we even ask why when we absolutely know, or at least it's 2026. You can chat GPT everything. You can do all the research and get all the real numbers on why the situation exists and will continue to exist. And it happens right now. It's happened so long. It's like sitting on a garbage truck. You don't even smell the trash anymore. Go look at the comments and see how many folks say usual suspects or this or that and third. And if we be real with ourselves, how much racism is really displayed through the comments. And you go to the black side, there's the black folks. They're being racist and defend. It's a whole society of people who are nasty towards each other. This is what we all can see for our own eyes. So the question now is like, why even ask why? It's a disaster, but one that was carefully plotted out and planned. You close all the black schools, so now you have a collapse of black education. And until you're able to restore values and do things, constitutionally, then you're going to continue to have the same result. But the system is perfect, and it's on repeat, and the product keeps coming out the same way. No matter where you're at. This isn't just a St. Helena thing. This is a pattern across the world. So the mechanism's not broken because it keeps doing it. It's working. The question is, what's the setting on, and how do we change the setting? How do we change the outcomes for these kids? Like, we have to change the inputs, and it's going to take a real look at education, but it can be done, and it has been done. But thus far we haven't had the outrage as a community to really, we as a community, we haven't had outrage.
So that's a good point. And this kind of all ties in together. Say the community hasn't had the outrage. How can the community have the outrage without becoming unglued and having repercussions that were unintended, that isn't going to help anything? But there is a problem, and it needs to be addressed. If we keep sticking our head in the sand, it's not going to go away. But yet you can't go from 0 to 100 and shoot yourself in the foot. How do you work that?
Yeah, I think first of all, you got to understand who's the outrage with, and it has to be personal accountability. It's got to be with self. It's not really a thing about, well, let's get to the school board and make a fuss. No, let's look at ourselves. And it's a tired song because we keep saying it, but I feel like I'm in a bad Dr. Seuss book. Like I don't know what it's going to take. Until someone cares. I don't know, until somebody cares. It's not hard solutions though. The thing. I know from my experience what I've done in my classroom. Some of these same kids that I see in headlines now were the same troubled kids running through St. Helena Elementary, and they struggled in everybody else's class.
Yeah.
For some reason, when they got to my class, they were able to look like honor students. And the only difference was I looked at these kids. That was it. The only difference was I I I connected. I just gave a moment to give this kid some humanity and say, like every kid should get. Like I
Yeah.
just treated them like regular kids. And guess
Yeah.
what? They did phenomenally. So my question has to be, what are y'all doing over there? And
Yeah.
and it's a problem. Look how society has look, just let's be honest. Let's look at the comments. Just be honest. If this is the majority assent, right?
Yeah.
And the people who are in leadership are also in this majority. How
Yes.
many of them are really escaping this same vitriol and disgust you have for a whole population?
I will say that in the comments on social media, since your concern, at Willie's Bar and Grill, all the way through the one July 4th on Hilton Head at the Tiki Hut area, the comments have been growing, and to those negative comments. And I have been really, shocked that that's happening.
Right.
And I just, I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't fit the bill. And I don't understand people who think that way, no matter if you're in a white neighborhood or a black and brown neighborhood. That doesn't matter to me. I mean, my first marriage, my best man, Danny Smith, and black guy, and I loved him like a brother, still do. So I can't get in my mind that how to think that way, that some of the comments I read from people that look like me and people that look like you, I just don't understand why people would say that at all. That's first thing. But in public, I mean, I just don't get it, Willie. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. So backstory, my best friend, Josiah McCabe, Irish Scottish guy from Delaware, been my best friend since first grade, my best friend today. My brother, we've been blood brothers since we drew on our hands and shook hands.
I remember that.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. So, and I'm blessed that I had the opportunity to grow up with diversity. You look at the Nolan Wells situation. A lot of folks jumped in, but I've been the only black guy on the river on a boat 1,000 times, 1,001, and I never, it's unfortunate, it's just unfortunate. It's just fortunate how on both sides, like this that growing hate, and I hate that for them. That I hate that they have that in them, because I've been able to like go and do everything that I've ever wanted to do. I've been able to golf with 70-year-olds on Dalton and all of, I've been able to go to fraternity houses. I've been in all black crowds, all white crowds, mixed crowds, this crowd, that crowd, and I loved it. I've enjoyed a full life and people. And I could not imagine what my life would be like without my white friends. I couldn't imagine what life would be like without my international friends. Yeah. I just couldn't imagine that. Like I just hate that for them. I see it and it's like I would never, man. Like on respect and love for Josiah, I would be utterly embarrassed if I ever engaged in that kind of like commentary. And it's so bad because some of the comments I end up laughing because it's funny. Some of it's funny too. And I think there's another side to it. People also shouldn't be so sensitive to an extent. I feel like it's a human race. We're all like, do your research. Like everybody comes from Africa. So if you're white, you're just a white African. That's just what it is. Everybody comes from Africa. We all come from the same spot. So we're all brothers and sisters. So sometimes brothers and sisters tease each other a little bit. I think we can't overly react to and can't just say because somebody makes a joke that's still it's still true. Like there's some truth to it because it doesn't matter. Like we could talk about how the media presents it. We could talk about the fact that 63% of juvenile crimes are committed by Caucasians, but every time you see a crime in the paper, it's a black face. We could talk about some of the mechanisms that push these stereotypes. But at the end of the day, a lot of these stereotypes come from things that are true. We could also work on the problems instead of getting so offended as a community about the fingers. Sometimes you just laugh it off, and there's too many black guys in these situations. I'm tired of seeing it. Like, and if you're getting heckled for it, then how about turn around and let's clean the community up a bit? Like, stop putting it on everybody else to do everything. That isn't. I'm not saying it's justified as right, but guess what? You, like my coach tells me, like, we go to play a game and you give the referee a chance to beat you, you give the team a chance to beat you. That's on you. Don't cry about it. Clean it up. You hate to see it. These are our kids, right? If it bothers you to your core, maybe it should bother you. Maybe God has ordained it in their heart to do so that you feel pricked or convicted to change something in your circumstance, your situation. Maybe that hatred that you see that pisses you off also incentivizes you to take extra time with your child and make sure they don't end up in that paper. And if so, let's keep the comments rolling. Eventually, though, like, you got to take ownership and stop crying about it and fix the problem.
Man, you're speaking the truth, bud. You're speaking the truth. I often wonder, and I've told my wife about this before, like when different media will say, they'll talk about crime or whatever, black kid, white kid. Does that matter? I mean, really, does that matter?
It doesn't, but here's the deal.
Or is that gasoline?
It's a business, though. When we run for politics, you run an ad, ad space is not free. You got to pay. The paper pays the editors and the writer. It's a business, right? And if the majority of people, it's all an algorithm. Guess what? If they put a bunch of white kids in the paper, nobody would read it. People have to start to take ownership, right? This Facebook algorithm is amazing, right? If something's coming up on your Facebook, that's what you're researching. That's what you're into. That's the algorithm, right? If you keep seeing black faces, that's what you like to read. I don't read this stuff, so I'm not getting those posts. I'm a nerd. I'm getting scientific stuff shot to me. I'm getting how to build planter boxes. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah. So you're getting what you're interested in. So if these things are coming up and people keep clicking on it, let's not punish the folks for making money. Let's ask, why are we so interested in this content?
Good point. Good point. I think the answer to my question that we posed after talking to two different people, two different subjects, but man, is it similar? And I think that answer is yes. I really do. And I think that's sad. Willie, it's good to see you, my brother.
Absolutely.
You're always welcome here, man. Anytime, any place. You just say the word Wille Turrall, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot, man.
Take care.
All right. It is, what are we here? Let me see. Turn the page. We are at 23 minutes.
Drop the tailgate, y'all.
Your attention, please.
You're listening worldwide to DJ Magic Mike.
We're gonna have a good time
on BigPatriotRadio.com.
23, now 24 minutes past the hour. We're going to call it on that. I really appreciate Willie coming on. And, final thought with that. There's a lot of work to be done by everyone. I really believe that. I don't believe we want to go to a two-tier society. I don't believe that at all, but I believe maybe it's ignorance that we're heading there in different avenues, whether it's law enforcement or education. I seriously want to talk with someone, and maybe Will Smith, representative from St. Helena, maybe he's the one, from the school board, where we can tell, and this is not an animus thing. This is strictly data. What is being done? Here's the data. I know they know about it, but what is being done? If it's teacher driven, if it's leadership driven, whatever it is, I don't know anyone in this county that would say, I'm not for making the change, because no child, black, brown, white, green, purple, no child in Beaufort County should be leading the state in the cellar. More F's than A's and B's. We should have children graduating high school already, like Whale Branch. They can get out of there with an AS in something. It's an early college high school. All kids should do that. If you're going to go to college, they should be ready to go to any college. If they're going to, work on air conditioners or wire houses or cut grass, whatever. They should be ready and willing and able to go to the next step. And it's everyone, parent, grandparent, clergy, neighbor, until we've got to get back to that community mindset. I can't tell you the number of times if I was out and one of the neighbor moms would say, I think your ass should be home. The sun's down. Something to that effect. I mean, I remember that. It's not that long ago. Will we return to that? Or is the society not able to handle that any longer? Well, that is going to do it. That's going to do it for tonight, this July 16th. We're going to be back next week on Facebook, YouTube, simulcasting on BigPatriotRadio.com. And in 2 weeks, man, we've got a big show. I've got the police chief of the town of Bluffton, Joe Babkowitz. He's going to be on, and we're going to talk about flock cameras. That's right. I've got all the data, all the details. Talked to him this morning. Said, hey, Chief, I'd love to have you on. He said, absolutely. Got it worked out in 2 weeks. I want to hear your questions. Everyone's been talking about cameras, and we're going to go right to the horse's mouth. The police chief, matter of fact, he's leaving sometime soon. I don't know exactly when. To go something about recertification groups or whatever. I mean, Bluffton knows what's going on, and we're going to have it right here on Beaufort County's House of Cards. Don't forget, please go right here to our little QR code. Scan that, and that'll take you right to buymeacoffee.com. We really appreciate all the folks out there who support us each and every week. And hopefully you're getting my email that I'm sending out periodically. Let's see what else. Anything else? That is it. Everyone have a safe week. We're going to see you back here next Thursday night, right here on Beaufort County's House of Cards. Until then, good night, everybody, and watch your six.
Thursday night, see, bringing the facts and shining the light. No matter who's winning, no matter who's scared, the truth's got a way of hitting hard, and the people deserve to know what's true, what they're spending and who's pulling through. From Bluffton streets to Beaufort yards, the truth keeps shaking that house of cards. Of cards, where the truth cuts through like a shooting star, and Facebook, YouTube, and Big Patriot Radio, taking the story where the people go. Truth and transparency are our regard. No one's too big, no matter who you are, and freedom survives when citizens guard against every house of cards. So tune in every Thursday night. We'll keep shining the light, and truth keeps standing tall as every house of cards can fall.